Ever vigilant of Second Amendment rights, Poughkeepsie's Mayor John Tkazyik called a press conference yesterday to alert city residents that a weapons-safe storage ordinance has been discussed by the City Council. Joined by Assemblymember Kieran Lawler and City Council member Lee David Klein, Mayor Tkazyik got out in front of the issue to generate awareness and establish his position that any legislation passed by the Council that would restrict a person's access to a weapon if attacked in his home would be vetoed immediately as unconstitutional.
This ordinance, as proposed, places an undue burden on those exercising their Second Amendment rights and renders useless owning a gun for self-defense. This proposed ordinance is an unconstitutional proposal. It's not about stopping crime. It's simply political pandering to the anti-Second Amendment crowd. We have a constitutional right to bear arms, and that includes the defense of one's home and family against an assailant. This ordinance makes self-defense impossible. It will increase crime as criminals learn that law-abiding homeowners are defenseless. And I will veto any legislation that is voted on by the Common Council that comes before my desk to enact this safe storage ordinance. I will veto it on day one.
The issue we have in the city of Poughkeepsie is not lawful ownership of firearms. That is not the problem. The problem here is homicidal young men hunting down other homicidal young men. That's the problem we have in the city of Poughkeepsie. This proposed ordinance has nothing to do with that. And if folks want to talk about the real problem, I'll be glad to attend that meeting. But this proposal is phony, it's false, it is misnamed. It's disturbing when an organization names itself one thing when its agenda is something else. And I am here to tell you that I will stand in opposition to this and any other similar type of proposed legislation.
Several City Council members felt the mayor's press conference was misleading.
There's been no legislation that's been brought before the City Council. We simply had a communication, a presentation, which looked at some legislation that had been voted on and passed in Buffalo. And the council was simply assessing whether it had any value or viability here in Poughkeepsie, and whether it had been constitutionally challenged in Buffalo. And it came clear from that discussion that there's a lot of work we need to do looking at data, gathering data, looking at it, assessing other municipalities before we even introduce something that we would move forward. So at this point, there is no moving forward with anything. But I believe the opposition would like you to believe that there is. It was simply a discussion. But the legislation in Buffalo, my limited understanding of the legislation in Buffalo, is that it's called the Safe Storage Law, Safe Storage Ordinance, and I believe it provides additional controls or safeguards on the storing of weapons and the separating of weapons and ammunition above and beyond what the SAFE Act offers. Okay. So the council is certainly committed to the safety and well-being of the citizens of Poughkeepsie, including those who are most vulnerable, our children, but we do not take lightly the fact that we have to balance that safety against an individual's personal freedoms. So we are certainly moving forward with caution and looking at it as we should assess anything.
I know there is a little bit of quibbling about whether this is a bill or this is a proposal or if it's much ado about nothing. Well, I'll tell you, my first day in the New York State Assembly, nobody was thinking about defending their Second Amendment rights. And the SAFE Act, one of the most draconian and one of the most anti-Second Amendment bills in the nation, was rammed through the New York State legislature with very little time to oppose it, with very little time to get expert testimony, and in a manner that was totally lacking in transparency. So we're here today, regardless of whatever the format of the proposal is in right now. We are here today to live out President Jefferson's words that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We're going to be vigilant about our rights here in Dutchess County,